Hello, dear participants. Allow me to bring to your attention a work about outstanding scientist of his time, Georgy Gauze. So, Gauze's contribution to modern antibiotic therapy. In the modern scientific biomedical society exists a controversy between the appreciation of Georgy Gauze either as eco-biologist or as pharmacologist. Interestingly, but initial achievements in the field of evolution biology provided big success in antibiotic therapy issues. Nevertheless, little is known about his parents. His father, Franz Gustavovich Gauze, was a quite conspicuous representative of Russian intellectuals. Senior Gauze was an architect and civil engineer. He created building projects, mainly for social infrastructure. For example, in 1915, he took a part in professional contest of designing the Bacteriological Institute of Smolensk Zemstvo, but gained the second place. He was involved in projecting of Imperator Pavel I Hospital. This facility has preserved for nowadays and represents under the name of the Fourth Municipal Clinical Hospital of Moscow. In the end of 90s, he married on Nadezhda Ivanova, Russian ballerina of big theater. Later, they had two children, Georgy and Valentina. The first teacher of young Gauze was the Vladimir Vladimirovich Alpatov. When young Gauze was 15 years old, he made an Alpatov's acquaintance. From the words of teen, Alpatov gave literature and references him, and they frequently had discussions on various scientific topics. Before he got to university, Gauze wrote his first article, of course under direction of Alpatov. The article was called Toward Variability in the Agent Locus to Locusta Migratoria in 1928. In 1927, Gauze goes to Moscow State University and attends the Department of Biology in Math and Physics faculty. The old connections of Alpatov in America made possible for Gauze to collaborate with Raymond Pearl, famous specialist in gerontology for that time. The cooperation of young researcher was not only with Pearl, but also with famous American mathematicians and European also Vito Volterra and Alfred Lotka. After graduation, Gauze provided his monographies through Pearl Institution to be published in USA. Despite all obstacles of very young age of Gauze and communist influence on the relationship with foreign communities, in 1938 book The Struggle for Existence came out. Few years later, it was published in USSR. The basics of this work are derived equations of Volterra-Lotka-Gauze. Directly from the equations of Volterra, it follows that two species competing for the same food and limited in their development by this same food cannot coexist indefinitely. Analyzing this theoretical conclusion, as well as the results of his own experiments, Gauze, in this work, formulated the rule stating that two species occupying the same ecological niche cannot stably coexist, because as a result of competition, one species will be displaced by other. This is commonly known as the law of concurrent exclusivity in ecology, or the law of Gauze. Before employment for a job in Alpatov's laboratory, Gauze also had been involved in some biochemical research in According Lab of Polytechnical Museum in Moscow. Together with Alexander Kizel, he studied the phenomena of protoplasma symmetry. His experiments on the effect of optical isomers of amino acids, alkaloids, and synthetic substances that affect the growth of protozoa and yeast were detailed in his book Asymmetry of Protoplasm and Optical Activity in Living Matter. So the main theses in these opuses were asymmetric organic molecular complexes are thought not to be a racemate conglomerate. The symmetric molecule is thought to be chiral molecule. And finally, the author concludes that anorganic nature as racemic system will be stable, but growing and multiplying cell in the racemic state will be unstable, because every deviation is instructed by the natural selection. That contributes to the fitness of the organism in the conditions of its environment, it generally determines the evolution in biochemical point of view. After the discovery of antibiotics, research on cell stereoisomerism took a new meaning, as they uncovered the biochemical and molecular mechanism of action of the isomers in peptide antibiotics. In the late 1930s, René Dubos was holding an experiment where he studied influence of some Bacillus brevis on gram-positive bacteria by special bactericidal agent. Subsequently, in collaboration with Hotchkiss, they revealed that this agent, which virtually called thiotricin, is the mixture of so-called gramitcidin and thyrocidin. Extracted gramitcidin became the first antibiotic to be manufactured commercially. After the Great Patriot War began, Gauze and his wife Valentina Brajnikova were tasked by Ministry of Public Health of USSR with utilizing the experience of the Western allies in the use of gramitcidin on the battlefield. Using the results reflected in Gauze's work on population dynamics and optical activity, Brajnikova and Gauze isolated a strain Bacillus brevis that didn't secrete thyrocidin. Later, the strain was named Bacillus Gauze-Brajnikova, and the letter S was added to the name indicating Soviet, gramitcidin S. From the point of view of modern concepts discussed, antibiotics belongs to linear polypeptides group. So gramitcidin D is a heterogeneous mixture of three strictly related compounds of gramitcidins A, B, and C obtained by Dubos in his experiments from Bacillus brevis, in contrast to gramitcidin S, which is a cyclic peptide. Gramitcidin S mainly affects gram-negative bacteria. The general mechanism of action is proposed by Chapley, where lysis of bacterial cell was preceded by pore membrane formation by the polymerized molecules of drug. The alternating L and D isomers of amino acids make a huge difference in pharmacodynamic efficiency. At the beginning of 1943, the first clinical observations of 100 wounded patients treated with gramitcidin S were performed. Long-lasting, non-healing, infected wound quickly became free of purulent contents. The temperature dropped to normal, and the wound was soon covered with uniform granulations with well-defined marginal epithelialization. In 1944, species of gramitcidin S were transferred to the Red Cross by Pavel Sergeyev. The third-dimensional structure was studied later independently by Nobel laureates Richard Sinch and Dorothy Hodgkin. Nowadays, gramitcidin S as a good practice is used as topical antibiotic because of its hemolytic side effect. 1946, a large group of writers, musicians, and scientists were awarded. Gauze, Brajnikova, and Sergeyev were awarded by the Stalin Prize of the third degree for the discovery and introduction of gramitcidin S into the medical practice. The modern usage of gramitcidin S is restricted to inflammatory disease of upper respiratory tract. In Russian segment, Gramidin trade name stands for the form of aerosol. Interestingly, but thiotricin still be used as suction pills for sore throat. I conclude this short narrative. Thank you for your attention. Bye.